the marketing domain cannot share. So brand stories are content that is useful to the audience, but mixed with your unique worldview about the domain that you're operating. So when you mix the usefulness of content that is applicable to the audience mixed with your unique experience about your brand, it's content on steroids, and that's what I think is brand stories, and it has massive impact on how you position yourself in the market.
That's right, absolutely. And how to improve the brand engagement through stories? What would be the key parameters you would recommend?
Right. So it's widely talked about, and it's somewhat become a cliche because people do lip service to it. But what you should be doing is you should provide as much value as possible to your audience. You should understand what what are the burning issues among your audience, what's keeping them awake at night, and what's bothering them every day. Once you figure out those things, if you can answer those problems for your audience, if you can provide value to them on a consistent basis, on a regular basis, I think that's where engagement happens naturally. And content wise, those are the kind of things that those are the kind of holes that you should be plugging. That's what will make you stand out among your competition. Platform wise, social media by definition is a place where you should be hanging out with your customers, your ideal customers, your existing and prospective customers, right? And that's where you should be connecting with them, engaging with them, trying to hook them, trying to position your brand as a certain business that will help your audience solve their problem. So platform wise, you should be aiming at social media where your audience is known to socialize. And content wise, you should provide consistent value that will help make their lives better.
That's right. I think this is something important that you have really shared about it. Further taking the conversation forward, digital era has arrived. I think COVID has pushed it hard to all of us, and content marketing is taking the shape. So, what according to you, we should use the content marketing stuff to improve conversions?
Right. I have experienced the disruption in marketing and content marketing firsthand, even before the COVID started. But you're right. When COVID happened, things got accelerated 10x, and content has never been more important because all of a sudden, the marketing budgets or the ad budgets that brands had to advertise themselves on social media, online, whatever places they were doing, everything came to a screeching halt. People couldn't spend those budgets. Those budgets were taken away from them, right? Now all they were left to do was to use content, their internal knowledge, and turn it into organic content that could help them reach out to customers at a time when everybody was uncertain about their futures. The businesses were uncertain about which direction they were going to go. The customers were uncertain about should they stick with their companies, their favorite software companies or the favorite service companies, or should they suspend their services for a while. So content marketing is what bridge the gap between the businesses and the customers that were in a dilemma. And I think that's the role that content played. And if you've noticed, content became all of a sudden, it emerged as the savior for all the brands. I mean, uh, when I'm saying content, I'm not thinking typically about the blogs and articles that we keep that we synonymously talk about when we talk about content. It's the webinars that started happening, it's the Zoom calls, and look at Clubhouse, nothing but a recent development in content marketing, because there are experts who come and share the knowledge with people who are interested to take part and exchange information. So content in all other formats started immersing and taking the pedestal in the marketing. That was already happening, but after the COVID hit, after the uncertain situation became worldwide, content all of a sudden found a new important place in businesses and marketing.
So, any quick tips you would like to share from the conversion point of view?
Yeah, I mean, conversion is such a complicated and often very s- strongly debated area of marketing, because there are people who question content's role in conversions, and there are people who advocate for it. I definitely advocate for it, because although it is hard, although it is sometimes very tricky to uh, attribute the role of content into conversions, it's definitely there. It's just long tail, it's not black and white like ads. For example, if you run ads on Facebook, you either get leads, you either get customers, or you don't, right? Content, it's hard because it's long tail. It starts not from conversion is the last point. Conversion is the touch point where customers trust your brand and start buying from you. But the role of content actually starts from the very beginning, from the launch of your brand if you are a new business, and then it trickles down to conversion. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are a software company in the fintech domain, right? You just launched, or you are an existing player, but you use content to start branding and positioning your brand in a certain way. For example, if there are incumbents like QuickBooks or other software company in your domain, you try to come up with features, product features, and you try to come up with marketing assets that position you in a certain way that is different from the existing players in the market. That's the branding and positioning role that content does. Later on, you start developing content that will drive engagement with your customers, like we discussed earlier, right? You use social media to answer their most common problems, to engage with them, to ask them question what they are what's keeping them awake at night, what's bothering them. So you use content for, number one, branding, and then number two, engagement. And then once the engagement happens, naturally the next step for customers is to start trusting your brand, right? Now they will be activated, they'll convert. And that's not the end of the story. Conversion is definitely one of the last stages, but if you're really good with your content, conversion leads to retention. People will stick to your brand instead of trying to find new competition, instead of trying to find your alternatives, if you do a good job at solving their problem, right? So they'll stick around, because decision making is hard for humans. They want to stick to brands that they are familiar with the services that they are comfortable with. So the role of content is not limited to conversion, and it's not very black and white when it comes to the topic of conversion, but it helps brands and customers at every stage of their buyer journey, starting from branding, positioning, to engagement, to conversion and retention and repeat purchase.
I think this is the sum up that you have done the whole exercise of content